And if I told you once, I'm not going to tell you twice. Salute all my real ones. Yeah, look, bruh. So we got update. Billy Joe Saunders, eye injury, details revealed versus Canelo Alverez. Doctor explains. Um, this is one of my favorite new YouTube channel. I mean, it's not new, but I've been following Dr. Brian Sutterer. I might chop up his name. But I've been following his channel for a minute, and basically all he does is just if there's like a crazy injury that happens, he's gonna break it down and chop it up in ways that a normal person that isn't a doctor might, you know what I'm saying, more easily understand. So definitely that was a crazy fight. That was a crazy way to end the fight. I really want to see what he's about to say. But before we get into that, like button, subscribe button, notification bell, press those. Let's go.
Billy Joe Saunders is undergoing surgery after the full extent of his injuries were revealed to be something called a quadrupod fracture. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Suter.
It wasn't a quadrupod one of them face hugger things from the alien movies that like impregnates you with the alien that pops out your chest and stuff? Oh, I'm bugging. Sounds right.
And this is your #1 source for learning about the unique medical side of the world of sports. I'll link the first video I did after the fight last night that just kind of walks through the differential and some of the other aspects of the anatomy kind of there in the moment. But now that we have the actual diagnosis of what was injured, I want to explain to you guys what exactly that is. First off, I missed something last night when reviewing the footage that really in hindsight does give a clear picture of what happened. Here on the left side of his face, you can clearly see this contour of that cheekbone, that zygomatic process over here. But on the right side, it's completely sunken in. It's completely collapsed from that fracture. And so honestly, yeah, in hindsight, this was very clear evidence for just how bad this was right there after the fight. So now the official word from Eddie Hearn is that he suffered something called a quadrupod fracture with multiple fractures to his orbital bone, a complete blowout. So let's refer back to our bidigital anatomy.
That's crazy. Imagine getting into a fight with somebody, you lose a fight, and your whole grill piece need to be reconstructed. Like, yeah, I know he got to be tight. Um, yo, there be some crazy ass things that like, yo, imagine telling somebody, yo, like you got 3 millionaires, and one of them is like, yeah, you know, I'm a CEO of such and such company. I make X amount of dollars. I might work like 20 hours a week, whatever. Then you got a doctor, right? A doctor is like, I don't even do surgeries no more. I just be, you know what I'm saying, consulting patients, blah, 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 blah. Then you got a boxer or an MMA fighter. Like, yo, how do you make your money? Well, I go into this place with a bunch of other savages that want to try to beat me within an inch of my life, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm the best out of all of them. And I go to this place every single day, putting my body through torture in order to fight a bunch of other world class savages and barbarians to try to make it to the very, very top of my profession. And we bash each other's brain and taking years and years and decades off our life, our past life, our future life, our auras, our spirits, and sending each other to the mystery realm. I got nothing but respect for fighters. MMA is my favorite sport. But that's a crazy way to make your money.
Anatomy tool here, and just to give you a sense of course, what we're talking about with the orbital socket, I've shown the eye here on the right side. This area is that area where we can see the clear prominence on Saunders' left.
But why the skeleton gotta be white for? Why can't it be black? You know what I'm saying? That's the Matrix trying to trick you. You know what I'm saying?
Side of his
Or maybe your skeleton's red.
cheek, but where it's completely sunken in over on the right. Let's get the eyeball out of here because that just looks a little bit creepy even to me. So the key bone that we have to point out here is the zygomatic bone. I'm going to highlight it here in green, and this is the one that we're really going to focus on. These quadrupod fractures, as it's called, will actually go by other names. You might see tetrapod, tripod fracture. You might see zygomatico-maxillary complex fracture. And so sometimes these words get a little bit interchanged depending on the specifics and kind of where you're seeing it. Quad, of course, means four. And so there's essentially four components to this quadrupod.
I thought a quad was a type of like motorcycle.
fracture. It's important to understand there's not one orbital bone. So when we hear somebody has an orbital bone fracture, there's actually multiple bones that make up the orbit. It's not a single orbital bone. If I highlight a bunch of these over on the other eye, what I want you to see is how technically all of these different...
If you got a chick in space and you smash it, is that an orbital bone?
colored bones could be considered part of the orbital socket here. So all those different color bones that come together to make up the orbital socket. So multiple different orbital bones. Looking back over to the right-sided zygomatic bone, what I want you to focus on are the contact points where it meets up with the other bones of the face. Here we have its connection with the temporal bone, and we call these areas where the two bones of the skull sort of meet with one another suture lines. These are areas that as we're developing as babies, there's initially some space there and they're soft, they're a little bit mobile. But then as we age, eventually those fuse together and leave these suture lines. Classically, we have them across the top of the skull, and so you might see a doctor sort of feeling those lines in a baby to make sure that these suture lines ultimately get closed. Now, the first component of this quadrupod is going to be fractured to this zygomatic arch. So here through the connection with the temporal bone, and then up in the front with the connection to the maxilla.
Damn, only if I smoke. If I was high as shit watching this video, I'd be like, yo, that's crazy. That skeleton is like, I was just with him yesterday.
Then, because of course that zygomatic bone articulates with some more of the orbit, the next component is going to be fracture of this lateral or outer wall of the orbital socket. That involves the connection between the zygomatic bone and the sphenoid bone deeper inside the eye, and then up top, the zygomatic bone and the frontal bone. So you can see how we're basically cutting through these different areas to gradually detach the zygomatic bone more farther from the face. The next component is this is going to involve the orbital floor, which is going to be that lower portion of the orbital socket, which can give you this orbital blowout that we hear. Essentially the contents of the orbit with the muscles, there's fatty tissue in there, the eyeball, the nerves, can come down through that orbital floor into the sinuses back behind the skull, which then gives the last component involving fracture of this maxillary sinus that's kind of deep back up in here. So what you end up with is this green bone that's highlighted essentially becomes detached from the rest of the skull, and in the case of Saunders can be depressed, involving all kinds of other areas here with the orbital socket. This is major trauma. We heard that Saunders couldn't see. And if we look back, his eye was pretty clear, and so that does make me concerned about possible injury to the structures of the eye. Imagine if he would have gone back out there and taken another punch from Canelo, knowing that this bone was already basically detached from the rest of the skull. As bad as this is, it would have been even worse. They're already talking about his career potentially being threatened, and yeah, if you have bad enough damage to your vision, if you have bad enough injury here, this is something that could end a boxer's career. So the key takeaways to summarize this video: a quadrupod fracture involves a fracture to this zygomatico-maxillary complex over here, where essentially you have 4 different components of the fracture, where this zygomatic bone becomes essentially detached or disassociated from the rest of the skull. Because of its proximity to the orbit, you can have an orbital floor fracture and an orbital blowout, causing potential trauma to the actual tissues of the eye, which is what really makes this very severe. That's it for the video, everybody. I hope it was educational. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button if you did learn something. Let me know as always any questions or comments down below. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.
All I'm gonna say is that Billy Joe Saunders, bro, I hope you bounce back from this. You know what I'm saying? Everything's gonna be good. You're gonna be boxing as soon as whatever the soon it is, the quickest amount of time it is to be able to recover from something like this. You know what I'm saying? Like career ending injuries are trash, and you know what I'm saying? Hopefully it's not, but if it is, you know what I'm saying, as long as you got your sight and you got family and you can see, then all is well. But I hope it's not career ending, because it's like there's no benefits for boxers, man. Like this is what they do. So hopefully he could continue to do this. But man, let me know what y'all think. Like, how would y'all deal with something like this? Man, I just can't imagine. I really do hope he's all right. If y'all follow Billy Joe Saunders, you know what I'm saying, go show love, go show support. Word. But other than that, my name is Rain Man. Not like Rain Man, but my name is Rain, man. I'm not a business, man. I'm a business. My name is Rain. Catch you on the flip side. RCP salute. Forgetting something. Dab on him.